we're the best show in town right now because real estate's getting a lot of attention. Not our podcast, but real estate in general.
I was like, we're shooting for the moon here, buddy. Let's shoot for the stars.
Everybody, this is the R&B Real Estate Show. Andrew Roach and I'm Ross Bridges. We are here helping you find your way home, coming to you all the way from Milton. Andrew, thank you for being patient with me. Today, I was trying to rent out the basement of my house, and I'm Ross Bridges, currently in Burlington, Ontario. Andrew, pleasure to be talking with you as always.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun doing these shows. We got to keep them going. Always having these kind of off the cuff conversations that, it's those little nuggets of gold that I think we both want to share with our listeners and the general public. Help them, again, navigate the real estate world as it changes. And one of our topics today that we wanted to talk about was, is the real estate market changing, right? We are seeing changes, and it almost seems to be week by week, but is this going to be a long-term change? Is it the phrase that I've been using with my clients right now is the real estate market taking a breath? Is it just, hang on a second, right? Let's just see what's happening. Or is this, we're having supply come on the market and now buyers have choice, right? So I shared with you some of the things that I've been seeing, Ross. What are you seeing, down in Burlington?
Yeah, well, before I get to that, I'm going to just go off on a couple of things. For a lot of the times, consumers will be looking, when is the best time to buy? And we can't really necessarily say, unless we look back at data for, over 3 months, I would say 6 months, to say, oh, this is a lower point in the market. Right. But, if you take that time to do that, home prices could have gone up 8% and then come down 2%. So you're still at plus 6% with the market going up.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of consumers out there. I have 100% seen a softening in the market, and I've noticed it over the last 10 days. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's funny that a lot of people out there, they're looking over the last month or two. We're seeing it on a daily perspective. Like when you and I have conversations, not only with each other, but also other realtors out there on a regular basis, attention on showings, how many offers. I mean, even before you and I got on this call, and I would love for you to elaborate that in terms of how many people are actually out there, right? I think we're going to see a slight inventory spike. I know we're going to see a slight inventory spike over the next month or two. Are we, heaven forbid, entering into a balanced market condition for the first time in a long time? So I think, like, we've also heard the expression buyer burnout, right? Media getting on top of things and saying, maybe the markets have heated up a little too fast and it's not sustainable. These are all things that we have heard, even if it's just a murmur. Those murmurs we hear them on the news, you see them on the internet, and people like you and I hear them all the time.
Yeah, and we got to take the news with a grain of salt. Keeping in mind, of course, that every news station out there, whatever the medium is, they're looking for clicks, they're looking for views, they're looking for eyeballs, they're looking for ears, and that's their advertising dollars, right? So you're going to have the whole, like, this is going to sound sensational. I'm going to post this, and depending on how valid it is, okay, just like I said, take it with a grain of salt, right? But we hear a lot of bubble talk, a lot of bubble talk. We've been hearing that for years, decades almost, really, right? Pretty much since the 2008, when the U.S. went through their bubble bursting. Completely different real estate markets, completely different financial systems, et cetera. So it's not apples to apples by any stretch of the imagination. However, one cannot turn a blind eye to the fact that real estate prices in Canada, across the country, have gone skyrocketing this year, right? And you talk about, are we going to reach and go into a balanced market? Well, what's the definition of a balanced market? A lot more inventory. We would generally say that
home staying on the market for an extended period of time.
Yeah. So, but where is that? Where's the fine line between a seller's market, which we're in now, and a buyer's market, which, well, let's look at like Alberta has been in a buyer's market for a long time. They are now out of their buyer's market and very much in more of a balanced market. And in some areas are actually seeing multiple offer situations, right? So, it's arguable, but that might be around 3 months of inventory and around the GTHA, whatever, right? Southern Ontario. And we're not anywhere close to that right now. However, it doesn't take long, right? Like you said, months of inventory a supply coming on the market, right? So going back to like, the news headlines, et cetera, we take it with a grain of salt. However, there's something to be said about in an overheated market, bubble talk, putting a little bit of fear into people, right? You're going to get a lot of the buyers out there that were just blowing each other out of the water. Whether it's speculation or, the old FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. Like, I better buy a house now or else. And that was real. That was real, right? So all this bubble talk, it's not necessarily bad, whether it's accurate or not, whether we actually are in a bubble or not. It's not a bad idea to just cool the jets a little bit, take some of the wind out of the sail, and maybe, take some of the buyers off the market and let it kind of settle. And we may or may not be seeing that, whether from, like you said, buyer fatigue, the natural supply cycle, right? As you know, spring comes around and more houses come on the market. That's just the real estate cycle every year, almost without fail, right?
Maybe. I think the big thing that you and I need to remind ourselves too of is sustainability, right? We're in a booming economy right now. Okay, there is no talk of a recession. We have seen 2 corrections since April of 2017. One of them was caused by a government correction where they put in new rules and enforce them, as we've discussed on shows prior. And then
we don't always agree on.
But we've seen the prices technically come down or things come to a halt twice. And they were both done for sustainability of the markets. Okay. So again, my opinion.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I know. I think we talked about that before, right? It just maybe not just one catalyst, not just one thing that turned it, right? We go back to 2017 and we saw months of inventory come up. We saw supply come on the market naturally, right? And maybe that was just the pin, that burst it. But anyways, I'll give it back to you because I'm going to just keep taking over.
That's okay. That's okay. We both are allowed to have strong opinions. I don't mind the media stepping in and saying that this is not sustainable. I mean, it's not. For prices to go up 25, 30% a year, that's not sustainable. For the government to step in there and try and do something, okay, well, good on them. That was good for our economy long term. Short-term pain for long-term gain. We need sustainability in our economy. We need to ensure that we're looking out for those people entering the market. And if they don't have an opportunity, like you and I talk about, 10 million millennials entering into the real estate market. Right. Well, if we haven't had these opportunities, then where would prices be today, right? We might have created a real estate recession. Right. So the government needs to step in, wag the dog. There's a reason that all of these powers can go out there and make a statement. The problem is for the consumers is us as realtors, we're not trusted. We're like, oh, those realtors can't be trusted. They're not looking out for your best interest. But a lot of the times we see these trends, and this is why we're doing this show, is to educate our clients on right now is an amazing opportunity to buy. I anticipate there will be a second strong wave where real estate prices will start to climb. And right now we're going to see what should very well be a normal spring market, a market where you're actually going to have the opportunity to go out there, look at a lot of homes. And even though it's going to be more of a seller's market, you and I both know that, then it's going to be a balanced market. I mean, yeah, you might not be able to buy a home with a home inspection, but at least you're not going to be getting into crazy bidding wars where there's 12 other offers. Maybe you're going to be buying a home like you and I have seen recently where there's 1 or 2 offers. Like, heaven forbid you get to do a home inspection or put a financing clause in. And that's a conversation with another stories with financing clause and appraisals right now. But No, I like where this is going. I think it's important that we speak from the heart in terms of where the market is going to protect our clients going forward.
Yeah, and so touching on maybe two things, and hopefully I don't forget them. You did say we're in a booming economy right now, and that's
I said our economy is pretty strong right now. It is if you compare it to the rest of the world.
Yeah. Okay. So so there we go. That was something else we were talking about. It's all relevance, right? What are you comparing it to, right?
Yeah. Well, are we talking like, oh, we're in lockdown now because we're in a pandemic, so our economy is not strong? Because if you're looking from a global perspective, I can honestly tell you, I don't think the GTA has ever been stronger.
Okay. So now we're probably gonna be getting outside of our professional hats, right? But I guess I think a lot of what the economic growth that we are seeing is government funding, right? It's printing money. They're trying to create a degree of inflation, right? Which economically the biggest nightmare for any economy is deflation, right? So at all turns you want to avoid deflation, and in fact you want a nice steady inflation. Means that I can borrow money today from anybody, right? And then I can pay it back cheaper later on, right? And that's kind of the idea of economics very, very broadly. And any economist or someone that has like much more experience is probably going to be cringing listening to this. But all that aside, a big sector, one of the biggest things that is contributing to our GDP right now is the housing market. Right. And I can't remember the stat, and forgive me, but like it was sizable. It was like 40% of our GDP or something like that, of our economic growth was coming from the housing market. Right. So I don't think there's any wonder why, we don't have government officials stepping in and trying to cool this off really quickly, because this is where their growth is coming from. It's coming from the housing market. And if in a struggling economy, and so I differ slightly, and I know you're talking relatively speaking, and you're right, I suppose there's some truth to that, but it's not nice, healthy economic growth. It's stimulated economic growth. And if most of that growth is coming from the housing market, last thing you'd want to do is cut yourself off at the knees. When you're trying to you are trying to stir the economy naturally, right? You're trying to get it up and running. You're making investment cheap. You're hoping companies are going to borrow that money, reinvest in their companies, hire more people, which creates tax dollars, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And yeah, pretty darn hard to do that when we keep jumping into lockdowns all the time, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You and here's the other thing. You had said something else that I wanted to touch on, and it was probably, I'm gonna jumping around a little bit here. I apologize, but I think it was, we were talking about what we're seeing, boots on the ground, right? You're talking about doing conditions again, right? Having a home inspection, having putting financing clause in there, and that's happening. And so again, take it with a grain of salt. I had a client on 2 townhouses recently. So just basically, it was Monday and Wednesday was offer nights. We offered on Monday, didn't get it. Offered on Wednesday, didn't get it. But you might think, well, you didn't get it because you got outbid. We didn't get it because neither of us, got it. Right?
Yeah.
So the sellers were expecting prices from 2-3 weeks ago. They were expecting the 775, and I know that we came in at 745, and then we bumped it up a couple of grand, right? And then, but the other party was apparently, according to the agent, both agents were close. So the sellers were expecting 775, but listen, I apologize, sellers. That ship has sailed, right? For now, right? I mean, what? That'll get into another discussion. So hold on, hold on to that for a second.
I still want to go back to economy talk before we get in here, but that's okay.
Okay. Let me just finish this. This one point about. Anyways, what I was going to say is, I know that the second offer that we did on Wednesday, again, according to the agent, and again, take it with a grain of salt, but according to them, the other offer was much higher than ours, but had full conditions, right? So we were in at 748, and then they were in much higher. So what do I assume? Do I assume 760, but with conditions?
Right, 760, 765. Who knows?
So people are trying conditions again, and I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility of getting them done, even if it's shortened. Right? What if I do a 1-day home inspection? What if you give me 3 days for financing instead of the full 5 and 5?
As
Right?
long as that's realistic and you're not having to ask for an amendment for an extended period of time.
Yeah, but that happens anyways. Like that would happen in a normal market.
Could you have pushed for a sign back in those situations, or were your clients not prepared to go any
They
higher?
gave us a sign back, but they gave us a sign back for what they wanted, and my clients had a hard ceiling. Like you can ask, you can't squeeze the blood from a stone, right? Like they signed back at 755. My client had a hard stop at 750, but wasn't comfortable going there firm.
Well, we're also going to see issues more and more in the coming weeks and months with the bank appraisals coming back, and there's going to be a differential upon what people have bought for in terms of what the banks are going to actually allow from an appraisal standpoint. Before we continue on that, I want to apologize to economists as well too, because at the end of the day, that is not my job. Like, household debt is probably much higher right now. Where I'm coming from is we're going to have a huge influence of foreign investors coming in from other parts of the world as soon as the borders open up. I think that like we're going through a third wave right now of a pandemic. I think we're going to see a second wave of our real estate market boom in the second half of the year. So I think right now, we're all a little burned out. I don't know about you, but I was out with buyers freaking most days for the better part of a month and a bit, all through February into March. The small businesses, I want to apologize to you guys because there's no one I feel worse for than the restaurant owners out there, those small businesses that keep our economy booming, the local support. So part of the show is to reach out and let you know, it's we're 2/3 done this damn pandemic, everybody. We're 2/3 done. We're on the home stretch here, and hopefully Andrew and I can give you a little bit of entertainment. We're the best show in town right now because real estate's getting a lot of attention. Not our podcast, but real estate in general.
I was like, we're shooting for the moon here, buddy. Let's shoot for the stars.
I'm humble by nature, so I'm talking about real estate because we're still deemed essential service. I don't know how, but we are. And at the end of the day, it is keeping the economy going. As Andrew did say earlier, like a lot of our money is going back into real estate. So that's where I see us having such a strong economy is the demand in the GTA, the demand from Niagara Falls, the demand across Canada,
everywhere,
Ontario, right? It's
everywhere.
The demand everywhere. So I wanted to just give a little bit of reasoning for why I think that we have such a strong economy, and we will. I'm confident we will for many years to come.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to say to
that. Well, we
was going to try, but I'm like, I got them.
I'm liking where our show's going. We're having some fun here.
Okay, so let's talk about wrap back around again a little bit. Let's talk again about what we're seeing right now. We were kind of chatting about a little bit of stats beforehand.
Yeah.
Right. Pulling up kind of like active listings. When we compare the active listings in March that we just saw, so we're basically moments out of March 2020 here. We go back and look at March previous years, and we're about 100 listings more on the market than the past, say, 3 or 4 years, right? In fact, we're basically at the end of March at the same numbers that we would have seen in April of previous years, right?
Well, let me ask you a question, Andrew, because you study your data pretty well. And one of the things I was really impressed about what you were telling me when we had a conversation earlier is you were comparing this to 2017, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, okay, so there's a huge difference between 2017, where we had a correction on April 21st, and now. But in terms of seeing inventory, like maybe people have missed the boat. Maybe that beautiful early spring, or the pre-spring market that you and I were referring to it as, is that the end of the pre-spring market? Are people kind of stopping and trying to figure out what's going on? And with everything we've talked about, there's some uncertainty, but I think there's good deals to be had right now if there's people that aren't going to have to worry about going 200,000 over to win a home.
Yeah, I think that there's, and I don't know, again, sorry to be nitpicking here, but like classify or qualify a good deal, right? In like, if that means that, yeah, you're right. You don't have to get into a stupid bidding war and just open your checkbook and just write a blank check. Yeah, you're right. You don't have to do that right now.
How long are you going to be living in your house for? Because your like fair market value might be 2023, right?
Yeah, so. Yeah, exactly, right.
Or it could be May of 2021.
Don't even get me started on agents like telling their clients, "Oh my God, like I'm gonna save that one because that'll be a rabbit hole of."
Go down it for like a minute because I'm curious to see. I just want to get you started on that.
No, don't do it. We'll wrap back around later. It'll be never ending. Okay, let's finish this. Okay. Okay, so one question that I have though is, with this new lockdown, is this going to be lockdown fatigue, or people are going to be like, another lockdown? Like there's no fear left?
No, because right? we're in outing for a family right now. Let's go out and look at some homes, and we got to be safe. But
yeah, so the new scare is the variant, right? The COVID-19 variants that are coming out. So I guess the question is, and I don't know the answer, in fairness, the question is, will this lockdown and the scare of the variant prevent, would-be sellers from coming on the market, which would then if we're seeing an increase in supply right now, because whether that's two things, right? That could be number one, that could just be the natural cycle of like, okay, I was supposed to list my house in March and I was planning on listing my house in March last June. So now it's March, I'm listing my home. Or was that, well, I bought a house in February, so now I have to list my house in March, right? Why was all this supply coming on the market, right? And if that supply is now on the market and we were expecting to have that the April supply come to the market, will this lockdown kind of like shrink that supply again? Yet we already know that buyers are comfortable kind of going out and about. They're there still. We still see buyers out there. We're still seeing showings booked. It's not like you're not getting any showings, right? We had a house on the market. Just I guess a few days. We sold it a few days ago, but anyways, had 27 showings on it, right, over 3 days.
Yeah.
Right. That's still a healthy number of showings. So we know the buyers are out there, and I know that I'm working with a handful of them. Right, just running all over them.
Yeah,
right.
Been out with them a lot of days over the last couple of weeks.
Right, but I also know that we're starting to, with my buyers that have a hard ceiling. Not everybody has a big, massive, healthy budget, right? Mm-hmm. So someone that has a conservative budget, we're finding houses again, right? This is our budget. I'm going to go in with this offer. Can you go any higher? Unfortunately, not. I'm sorry.
No, it's crazy to think in this unprecedented time right now. Like you talk about the fear of missing out. There's also the fear of the unknown, right? We have to be safer now than ever, right? We're almost done this. I mean, yeah, okay, COVID versus influenza. There's always going to be slight variances of strains that we're probably going to be facing for many, many years. Have we gone through the worst of it? I hope so. I really, really do. But yeah, we this is basically going back to a very, generalized statement. What I'm going to say right now is like, we're looking at it through socialist eyes and capitalist eyes. There's the people out there right now going, oh, I got to get a house because prices just keep climbing and climbing and climbing. And we have to do what's right for our society right now too, right? So I think it's great that we are being smart enough to be in lockdown. I know a lot of people out there that think it's stupid, and we're doing what the most horrible thing for our economy right now. And I feel horrible for those small businesses out there. and the stress and the mental illness and all of the stuff that people are going through right now because they can't pay their bills.
Yeah.
So we're in such a tough situation right now that it's just like, what are we going to do? Right. Like it's really, really tough. And like you just said, there's going to be people that are still going out to buy homes. Prices, like there's still a demand, and people, maybe they're wanting to move out of the city closer to where we are. Right. And there's people wanting to move. They're considering Milton, Burlington, the city, and they're moving the heck out of town. Right. So, we're seeing some stuff right now that unprecedented.
Yeah, and I surprisingly, I was chatting with a colleague downtown Toronto, works like beaches and Leslieville and all that kind of stuff, which is a very sought after area as it is, right? But she's like, we're still multiple offers like crazy, things going crazy over list, right? And which was somewhat surprising for me. Yet I also tried to justify it. I tried to, like, I shouldn't say justify it, rationalize it. It was that, like, the exodus, everyone like just ran out for COVID, and then it's like, okay, hey, look at all the deals in Toronto. There's no, and then everybody's coming back. Okay, it's not so bad. And so I asked her about that. And she's like, no, it's been pretty solid, pretty steady. So, I don't know. I think it's just, I mean, there's so many reasons why the real estate market has gone crazy, and we've talked about them on other shows, but coronavirus, getting out, not having to live downtown, not having to have to commute anymore, or as much, I should say, and then especially rock bottom interest rates. And then the Bank of Canada is coming out saying interest rates are going to be rock bottom until at least 2023, which then further gives buyers confidence to say, okay, so they're not going up anytime soon, so I'm going to go out there and I'm going to buy what I can.
And I'll keep it as a variable rate right now, because that variable rate's a little bit more advantageous than a fixed rate right now.
Right. The U.S., the interest rates are going up, right? Canada, our interest rates went up a bit just because of the bond yield. But that variable rate, if you can grab it, I mean, it's pretty appealing.
Yeah.
Right.
And for all of you people thinking of buying in the next 3-4 months, get those rates locked in, right? We can put you in contact with a great mortgage specialist.
If that's what you want to do. I don't know. I like I'm a variable guy when I can. I mean, I guess if you can lock it in, like there was, you could get like a 1.9% or something like that, 1.7% 5-year fixed. I mean, that's pretty darn appealing too, right?
Educate me for a second. So sorry, when you're talking to the banks and you're like, lock me in for that next 3-4 months, 90 to 120 days, is what that's on a fixed rate? Could that not still be a variable rate?
Oh, I apologize. I took the lock it in as you're in a variable. Now switch me over to a fixed to lock in the rate. Yeah, I apologize. I hear what you're saying. Misunderstanding.
No, well, you have a background as a mortgage broker. I know my background's construction and marketing over here. So
well, there you go. I mean, two very applicable trades, if you will, to have for real estate.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, another thing you were chatting about here, and I'm going to go back to the stats because I just kind of I like that. I like to justify things, right? Theories that I've seen, right? The March data isn't out yet officially. It probably won't be out for about a week or so. Hopefully we'll get it like mid next week. So I pulled the rough data here basically, but year over year, March was up 22%. This is going to be Milton. I apologize for leaving you out here a little bit there. Month over month, or sorry, year over year, 22%, right? Which is still significantly high. It's not the, 25%, I think it was for January or for March. And no, it was 29% for February and 33% for January. Did I say January twice there? February and January. And then, so actually I wanted to chat. I don't want to chat about this here, but anyways, I want to mention it. This is excluding just to keep the averages in check, excluding Brian Baumler's house that just sold for $7.5 million.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. We took that guy out, right? Just so we could average it a little closer, right? The next closest I think sold for like 3.3 million, right? So that was a bit of a significant jump. to have that sale in the averages. So I did admittedly leave that out, but even still, looking at the median change was still 19% year over year, right?
I went up to Milton to show a home. Like my clients had called me on the Thursday. I was going to go show them the home on the Friday, listed for 179. It was underpriced, mind you.
Yeah.
Sold next morning, 2.4.
Yeah.
You know, but it was clearly underpriced. And hey, that shows you an example of why you want to price it a little bit lower to attract that audience for a quick sale too, right?
So, well, absolutely. And you know, I'm going to be honest with you. I can't wait until that's done. It's
priced accordingly, because that comes back on us as realtors too. Like, oh, well, why did you realtors price it so low? Why was it not priced accordingly?
I know.
Yeah, we can argue that we are collecting the largest target audience by pricing it lower. You're bringing 95+% of the people to the table. If you price it too high, then you're taking out a huge large audience. We can also talk about how our systems are a giant search engine, right? So a lot of the times our clients will say, oh, we're only looking up to 850. Okay. So if we price the home at 849 instead of at 855 or 865, then you're going to have a larger target audience from that standpoint as well too. But I know you wanted to continue on the data talk there.
Well, I guess not really. I guess I was going to just elaborate just one step further, just to say that Halton median change year over year. So Halton as a whole was 29%. So other areas are getting still that bigger increase than Milton was. Maybe Milton's kind of just plateauing a bit. But you get into kind of like the smaller priced markets in and around Halton that would have a bit of a more of a significant jump. We talked about this on another show too, right? About how like they're like in its peak, end of January, early February, it didn't seem to be very much of a price discrepancy for distance away from Toronto, right? Like that really kind of like bucked the trend where you would put Toronto as the epicenter, as the most expensive area, and then things would just marginally get cheaper the further out you kind of went. In whatever direction, it didn't really matter, right? And for a while there, I mean, like a house in Milton was the same price as a house in Guelph, is the same price a house as like Orangeville, is the same price as a house as Mississauga, right? Like there wasn't there wasn't any change really for a while there. It was kind of bananas. But it's good to kind of get, level, have this plateau a little bit. You can't increase 30% a year, right? You can't increase 20% a year. Heck, you can't even really arguably increase like 15%. 10 is overly healthy, right?
And we've talked about this on previous shows, but like, segments within the market, whether it's a condo or a townhome. And then I go back, like I think of specific areas within Oakville and Burlington, and I'm sure you know the same obviously in Milton, is, well, you're looking for those trends, those things that set specific neighborhoods apart from other neighborhoods, right? The schools, obviously that's a huge indicator for supply and demand. And I think of so many different cultures out there where all they care about, the most important thing, even more than the home, is they care about their child's education. And I love that. I think that's so beautiful that they're putting the future of their family ahead of everything else, because that's what they want, is their children to get the best education. So to talk about it, such a generalized statement is, it's not sustainable. Like we should be seeing prices going up 8 to 10%,
Yeah.
And
that'd be very healthy and very sustainable.
Right. And some years, heaven forbid, it goes up 2%, and other years it goes up 15%. But what we've seen over the last 5-6 years, and now I could argue from a global perspective that Canada is behind in terms of our evaluation of property. And I can argue that we have a lot of natural resources, water.
Sorry, I'm going to pause you there for a second. What do you mean behind as far as our property, valuation of our property?
Well, we've caught up. We've definitely caught up. But in terms of like, if I go to places like in Australia or certain parts of Singapore, Hong Kong, where we are still deemed as one of the like this is where everybody on the planet's wanting to come for opportunity right now. They're looking at Vancouver, they're looking at Ontario, and so I feel that our market evaluation is still, or has been, low for years, and now we've caught up. And a lot of the consumers, Canadian consumers, might say, "Oh, well, when's there going to be a correction? When's there going to be a correction?" I don't see it, because the migration, there's a migration that's going to continue throughout our lifetime, where people are going to be coming to Canada.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. I apologize. I was kind of a little bit off camera here, looking for something. I had just seen that an economist that I follow, or I shouldn't say an economist, I apologize, an analyst that I follow had posted. He had kind of reposted something on LinkedIn. Long story short on it, it's covered real estate growth from the turn of the century, right? From 2000 till today. Actually, it was until last year. It was until 2020. And it's kind of a what do you call it? Like an animated graphic where the numbers go up and it'll move the country into like first, second, third kind of place, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
And it was kind of shocking to find out, in comparison to like other major countries around the world, how quickly the Canadian market has outpaced other markets as far as real estate growth goes, like percentage growth, right? And I was just going to say about
population densification, or is this more in terms of the price, the evaluation of properties going up?
About the value of real estate
going up. Okay.
So percentage increase, right? And if I remember what it was, here it is. You know what? I'm going to see if I can. Let me share my screen here. It's Don Campbell shared James Eagle, and I'm going to share the screen for those that are going to be watching this on YouTube.
Awesome.
Or any other medium here. But check this out. Whoops. There we go. So let me see if I can get this started from the beginning. Check this out. Watch Canada. So here we are at the turn of the century here. We're in, what is this? We're kind of in 5th place. And here we are looking at the UK, Italy, the US, France, Canada, Spain, and Germany as we open this up as far as turn of the century growth goes. And apparently I've got music. I'll turn off the music. So we've dropped, here we are, 2003, we've dropped down to 6th place at 20% increased growth. So with a 5-year span, we're up 30%. Now we're jumped up to 4th. So in 2000, here we approach 2008, everything comes down. And then it just goes up from there. Now we're jumped up to 2nd, or so it's a third place, sorry. So in 10 years, our real estate market had increased by 75%, almost 75%. Now 2012, 80%, 85%. And then it just takes off.
Wow. Thank you for sharing this. This is
look at it, just outpace everything else. It just shot up there, right? So 2017, we're up 147%, and the next closest was the UK at 93%.
Unreal.
And then it's gonna shoot up again here.
I mean, you can argue that proves the migration, and then, like I said, it'll continue throughout our lifetime.
Yeah, so here you are ending 20 years later, the end of Q4, right? So that doesn't even take into consideration this massive spike that we just had over just in 2021 alone, right? So here we are in 20 years, our Canadian real estate market is up 168%, and the next closest was the UK at 96%. Yeah, right? We're up 100% higher than the next closest.
But our population is 38 million, and you look about how many people from across the world are coming to Canada, right?
I agree, and I think that there are so many factors at play that are playing with the Canadian real estate market. and immigration is going to be going to be huge on that, right? It's going to be a big player, looking globally as to around the world, looking at other countries. I mean, dude, we are absolutely blessed to live in the greatest country in the world, and I know there's some other countries out there that are gonna argue for top spot, right? But hey,
Canada. Proud to be Canadian right now, aren't we?
Yeah, well, you know what? But at the end of the day, like this is where people want to be.
Yeah.
Right, around the world, right? If you and I look around, and some of the stuff that you see around the world, it's shocking, right? That's how their country lives, operates. Whether it's just blatant corruption, and yes, there's corruption in Canada. We see it all the time, and it's painful, but it's like next level corruption. It's open and arrogant corruption.
Well, we are influenced by the U.S., so that's to all of my American friends out there. I love you.
We can take jabs. We can take jabs at the meth lab downstairs.
At our big brother. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like you said, like there's a lot going for Canada, but there's a lot kind of going against it as far as the real estate market goes, and how it's handled, and the amount of kind of red tape in order to for development, and the bureaucracy that holds development back and allows more supply to come on the market and all that kind of stuff. And again, we're getting into a very broad topic, right? There's when you talk about the green belt around GTA and out in Vancouver, they've got something similar out there, right? Where they're protecting the environment. I think that's critical. I really do.
Couldn't agree more.
But you got to get into infrastructure, right? Infrastructure to allow people to move around, because at the end of the day, somebody shouldn't have to drive an hour and a half, or spend an hour and a half to get to work each day, to and from, right? We need infrastructure in place. And unfortunately, those infrastructure projects cost like 7 times as much as they would anywhere else. And they take about 12 times as long to actually get, green stamped, or whatever it's called.
We might want to save that for another show, my friend.
Maybe, but that might also be getting out of our expertise, and it's very just opinionated. We have to do more research on that, or actually, you know what? Better yet, have a guest speaker.
I like that. I also think that video that you shared was amazing, and thank you very much for sharing that with our audience, because that's so cool to see supply and demand, just how much everybody wants to be in Canada. That's amazing. That's amazing. But
well, and again, other factors at play, right? But yeah, let's wrap it up.
For all of you watching on the video, I totally gave a cue, because I don't even know how long our show's been, but I want to thank Andrew Roach so much, and his family business up in Milton. I'm Ross Bridges. We are the R&B Real Estate Show, helping you find your way home. Andrew, thank you.
As always, yeah, I guess the conversation was coming to an end, so no better time than the present to wrap it up. Anyways, always good chatting with you, man. We'll have another one out there soon.